Alright guys, welcome back to the Rage's Cantina podcast. Today on the show, Disney closes its crappy sequel trilogy hotel after only a year of being open. Some YouTubers think that the KOTOR remake will never come out. I'll let you know why I kind of agree with them. Disney loses big money removing the Willow show from DisneyPlus. And Obi-Wan will not be getting a season 2. Thank God. That, and we have special guests Darth, Varkor, and Kevin from Smash City Studios here to talk about KOTOR. And more. It's the Rage's Cantina podcast, episode 9, ranked the best new Star Wars podcast of all time.
Looking forward to this for a long time.
Alright everyone, welcome back to the Rage's Cantina podcast. I'm joined here tonight by my co-host Tamba. What's going on, Tamba?
How's it going, Box Bros?
My KOTOR ally in crime, Darth Varkor, is back. How are you, Varkor?
I'm very well, thank you.
And we have a very special guest here today, Kevin Smets from Smash City Studios, who is a very prominent KOTOR Machinima channel on YouTube. The links to both Varkor and Kevin's channels are in the description, so make sure to check them out, guys. Welcome, Kevin. How you doing today?
Been good, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to talk a little Star Wars, so let's do it.
That's what it's all about. So we're going to get into a little Star Wars news right now, our Star Wars news section. You know, what's going on in the world of Star Wars? Well, as usual, not too much good. Now this is like Star Wars, kind of not, but I'll tell you why this is news. So in a sudden and costly move, DisneyPlus has decided to remove the very underwhelming Willow series from its streaming platform. Now the show, which had generated significant anticipation, failed to live up to expectations and left viewers pretty disappointed. Now the reasons behind the removal have not been explicitly stated by Disney. It appears that the show's poor reception and negative feedback played a significant role. On top of it all, it's actually costing Disney quite a bit of money to remove the show from its platform. And all around, this just seems to be another huge flop for Disney Plus. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because the main character of the show, Willow, is played by, of course, Warwick Davis, who was a very prominent actor in the original trilogy of Star Wars. It's quite a shame that his show has flopped the way it did here. I never even heard of the show until just recently with this news, so I think that just goes to show how unpopular it must have been. Now, have you guys heard of the show at all, or watched it?
I heard of it briefly.
Yeah, I mean, in my circles, it was a little more prominent. I came from something called the Movie Trivia Schmodown, which was on Collider, and it was like a bunch of like movie pundits. So I ended up being close to all them, and like Dan Murrell and all these people from Screen Junkies and all these reviewers, Christian Harloff, are all my friends, but they would post about it and do reviews, John Campea, and there was a big hype about it. It was like, thing is, it was like right around the time of Rings of Power out and the House of the Dragon, so it was like, oh, and we're getting Willow. And whereas those two were met pretty much positively. I mean, Rings of Power was a little mixed, but everybody loved the House of Dragon. When Willow came out, it was like a fart in an elevator, man. Like I don't think anybody
fart in an elevator.
I don't think anybody was really happy with it. For me, I knew way too much about that movie thanks to the Trivia Schmodown, because the original movie Willow, I knew everything about it. But even as much as I had known about that original movie, because I had to watch it so many times, I didn't even watch the series, but I knew about it, and they did. It's interesting that you said you hadn't really heard about it, because I mean,
nope.
Here in the States, man, there was a pretty good marketing push. So I was pretty shocked that like no one came out to really support it. You know what I mean? But that's how it is. But it's a reminder about how important physical media is, because anything you think you own or you have access to, they can suddenly pull it, and then you'll be like, great, now I cannot watch Willow. Like, that wouldn't be the case. Willow can flop, but if you can buy the box set at Best Buy and you love it, then that's great for you. But I feel bad for people that actually watched the show and loved it, and now they can't access it. That's a bummer.
Yeah, from the reviews I've seen, it was pretty negative, pretty negative. I mean, to the point where they're just removing the whole thing. I mean, that's like insane.
They've not given a proper reason as to why they've taken it off Disney Plus, have they yet?
I actually think I do know, because I read into this. It's to do with the writers' strike, the Writers Guild of America strike.
Oh, really?
Basically, Yeah, what I heard is that while these people are on strike, so long as the shows that they worked on are still on the air, they're getting like money for it. So they removed a lot of these shows, like as Disney's way of saying "fuck you," basically to those people.
That is theory.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, you want to go on strike? Well, you're not going to get money for these projects, and you're just going to
the
like
strike's getting ugly. You know, from being from LA, like I have a lot of friends that are on the picket lines, and I wouldn't put it past the studios. I think the studios literally another reason for the strike. And it's kind of a inverse of that. Well, not inverse, but there are a lot of shows that are in production or about to be in production that got greenlit, and then with all these mergers that are happening with all these companies and all these new CEOs, there's a lot of these projects they don't want, but it's like there's so much backlash. Like when that Batgirl movie got completely canned and like pulled, and like no one will ever see it, and like part of the tax deal was they had to literally destroy all copies so it will never leak, right? They shot a full Batgirl movie and it will never be seen. So another theory about this strike is they are able during the strike, like you said, they're going to take Willow out and take the money away from those writers to really put the hammer on them, but also to put the boot to their neck. But also they're canceling a lot of projects that were just beginning in development or that were in the writing stages, because now the studios can be like, well, now you're off, and they're wiping the slate. So it's like a purge almost of a lot of these projects.
It's like either way though, Disney's losing money though doing this. Like they're losing a good bit of money. So
it's not just Disney, it's a lot of streaming platforms, like they're all doing it. Like if you go on any like platform and you start to see shows disappear, you can pretty safely assume that this is why. Because it's like their way of getting back at the people who made the shows.
I'll have to look into that, because I didn't know about this whole Writers Guild strike, and that it can affect shows to that degree on streaming platforms. That's really interesting.
If you knew the yearly the salary of like one Bob Chapek or one of these guys that run these studios, and literally all of the writers collectively are asking for but a fraction of what they make in 1 year. What one man makes in a year, the writers collectively, all in Hollywood, are asking for like 5% of that. And the studios are not budging. So
wow.
It's a very touchy, like especially here in the States and where I'm from, and like I know a lot of writer friends that are on the picket lines right now, and it's a touchy subject. Like the Editors Guild, where I'm a part of, we almost went on strike 3 years ago, and it was right after I recovered from cancer. I'm back working, everything's great, and then all of a sudden we were faced with the proposition of picketing ourselves, because these networks and these studios wouldn't budge on like literally like stuff on healthcare and stuff that would not even make a dent in the pockets of the higher ups, but they are greedy, selfish people. So I think that both sides are going to dig in. I think it's going to get ugly, and unfortunately I think this is going to go on probably till like December and maybe into the next year. I hope it doesn't, but that's what my contacts and my friends say it is going to happen.
I guess we'll have to say.
I'm glad you recovered from cancer. Just want to
congratulations,
say that.
Man, on that.
Yeah, not to bury the lead, but yeah, I'm good now.
Yeah. No, the reason I heard, like the main reason behind it was because originally these companies like Disney and Amazon and Netflix, they wanted to withhold money, like they wanted to withhold the royalties that these writers would earn while they were on strike, and the writers basically had a legal precedent to make a case against them for that. So then instead of going to court, they just countered with, oh well, we'll just remove the shows entirely because we can do that, it's our property. And then you get no royalties, which is like a big FU to all the writers. So
seems like a pretty effed situation all around.
It's very shady, very dirty business.
Unfortunately, it's really believable. Like,
yeah, it is. I'm not surprised in the slightest. All right, guys, we're gonna move on to the next topic now. So Jeff Grubb, I don't know if you guys ever heard of him, said that the KOTOR remake will never come out. He's a gaming content creator with a pretty decent following, and he said on his show that, he just doesn't believe KOTOR will ever hit the shelves. It's just not coming out in his opinion. This, of course, sparked a lot of controversy on good old Twitter, with a lot of KOTOR fans exclaiming that the game will, in fact, come out, and that he should just shut up about it. Now, I, too, received a similar backlash back when I first heard that the game was being put on hold indefinitely. Basically, I said that, I've seen things like this happen 1,000 times with games, and it usually just doesn't bode well, like, with with like what happened with Asper and all that. That's all I said. It just doesn't really bode well. I'm not saying it's not coming out, but just that it's just not really looking good. We might not see it for a while, a long time. I don't know. But I try to stay optimistic. But I'm curious what you guys think. Do you guys believe that the KOTOR remake will ever be released?
I think so.
You think so?
I believe I shared it on my survey yesterday. A YouTuber, I think he's 100% Star Wars. He's done quite a few videos on the remake, and he seems, from at least what he says, he seems to have a lot of insider information about it. And a lot of what he said was countering Jeff Grubb, but he did say it is likely that because of the delays and is it Saber that were taken over from Aspire?
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's
I think
Saber
as I said,
now.
it's likely we might not see it till 2025, 26, and yesterday before the showcase, I can't remember what his name is. He's one of the high ups at PlayStation. He was asked about the remake, and he said something along the lines of it's the most asked question he's getting at the moment, but he's got no comment at this time.
No comment. He said it's his favorite question.
That's it, yeah.
Which he was being facetious, probably, but it's but
he was which everyone took as well. They're either going to show it tonight, hence why he's not talking about it, or it's that far away down the pipeline. He's not talking about it, and I guess it's the latter.
Which
I think it's gonna happen. I especially when you hear a quote like that, like it's my favorite question. Like they know how many people are asking all the time. There are so many conflicting reports. One report says that like that original version of it, they didn't feel it was too cinematic enough. Like I recently saw that a tweet like yesterday about that. And then someone had leaked like, oh no, it's still in the production slate. Like look at this list. But then someone else debunked that list. That was like a part of the PlayStation thing. So. I think that they're foolish. They would throw a lot of money away. But I like it when everybody talks about it because I don't know if you follow your analytics, but whenever people are searching KOTOR remake, all the views on my channel always kind of take a little uptick.
Views for us,
right?
Yeah, it's good for us. I mean, the only thing is it's gonna suck is when people are like, "Well, why don't you redo all your movies with these new graphics?" And
I can't wait for that.
Oh no,
yeah,
that's like next level.
So I have a different opinion on the other end of the spectrum, because I feel like most of you guys, because you played KOTOR when you were younger, so you see it through rose-tinted glasses. I've only recently played KOTOR, so it doesn't have that nostalgia factor for me. Other than it being Star Wars, it doesn't have that like nostalgia factor for me like it does for you guys. So I can see it getting cancelled, and the reason being is because all we got was a very, very small cinematic teaser trailer, which was it's like not based on anything like in the game, no gameplay or anything, right? It's just Revan. Now, the thing about this is, I want you to remember how much detail and production and time and effort and money went into Star Wars
13, dude. Yeah.
And then they cancelled that.
And that just that was a special circumstance because that was when Disney took over LucasArts, and they started doing their own thing.
Even so, I just feel like just because there's so much production that's been done on something doesn't necessarily mean it can't be chopped.
It's
case in point, the Batgirl movie that you spoke about earlier. It's always on the chopping block.
Mm-hmm.
But is Sony the kind of company? I don't know. They might have done this before. Are they the kind of company that would just cancel a project halfway through?
I think it depends on if it's financially feasible for them or not. Like that's what they care about. At the end of the day, it's all about the money. So if it's not financially feasible, then
I can give you two examples of when Sony did that. Spider-Man 4, which never happened, the Tobey Maguire movie, because Disney decided that Spider-Man 3 sucked, and so they didn't want to put money into it, even after they told all the actors.
But I mean, gaming specifically.
Oh, well, no. I don't know anything about gaming specifically, but they also did it again. So they have a very wishy-washy attitude, it seems. I think Sony is like Disney, if the money isn't there, they're not there.
I mean, it's like, I try, like I said, I try to be optimistic, but at the same time, I don't want to get my hopes up too much, because KOTOR is my favorite video game of all time. So it's like, and then on top of that, even if they do release it, I want them to do it right. Like, I don't want it to just be some God of War clone or something. Like, that would just
this thing I remember seeing about the God of War leak thing. Everyone was saying the gameplay was like God of War, but then 100% Star Wars video yesterday, he was saying no, it's nothing like God of War. It was more like Final Fantasy VII,
which I could accept that. I could accept that.
Yeah, it's turn-based, which I'd be fine with. So there seems to be just a lot of
I wonder how the sales of the mobile version informed their decision too. Like, It's like you know, they released them on mobile, and so I'm wondering, you know, I know that it was kind of a big deal on the iPhone for a while.
I think that's what I guess got Aspire the gig to begin
scared
with.
them off if it didn't do well, you know.
Yeah, I think that's what got Aspire the gig to begin with, because they did such a good job with the ports on mobile and like Switch and stuff like that, and that was kind of like their homework before they started on it themselves.
Well, at any rate, we'll just have to wait and see, but we'll probably be waiting quite a while.
Quite a while.
Yeah. So, anyway, moving on. So, the entertainment industry is saddened by the unexpected loss of a talented actor, Ray Stevenson. I'm sure you guys have heard about this.
Yeah.
Known for his roles as the voice of Gar Saxon in Star Wars The Clone Wars and the live-action character Balon Skull in the upcoming Ahsoka series. Stevens' talent and versatility extended beyond Star Wars, with notable roles in Rome, Dexter, The Punisher, Thor, and Black Sails. The industry and fans alike are deeply saddened by his passing, and his contributions will be cherished. So, big RIP there. I think he did a fantastic voice work as Gar Saxon in the Clone Wars. I remember his character. And I remember he was also in the movie King Arthur, which was a 2004 movie. A lot of people don't remember him in that, and I think that was like one of his best roles of all time. Like he did really well in that movie. So
yeah, I know very little about him up till aside from Ahsoka. Like I can't even. I'd say I'm not particularly well versed in Clone Wars. I haven't seen all of it, so I can't remember what his character was. But
he's the guy with the orange lightsaber. That was him. It looks orange. It's kind of reddish orange. Like, you know, everybody was talking about that lightsaber color. But yeah, he's that.
But no, it is an absolute shame. So especially, you know, the trailer of Ahsoka. I remember everyone was talking about him and, you know, the look of his character in it.
No,
so
I don't remember hearing about the cause of his death. Did you guys hear about that? Or?
Not that I've heard.
I don't know if they released
it. No. He was brilliant in Rome. I don't know, that show Rome was so good. And it was like, you know, like Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones, you know.
Yeah.
Rome was good, or around the same time, but yeah, Rome was really good. He was great at that. And then, like, honestly, like Punisher Warzone doesn't get a lot of love. Like, it's the Punisher movies, but like,
right.
I thought he did a better job in that. It was like the older grizzled Punisher, and I like that articles are like mentioning that. It's like giving that credit. But my thing about him, and we covered it when I was on my other show. I'm on a Star Wars show called The Jedi Way, and we covered Celebration, and his interviews at Celebration just show how much of a fan he was. Like, he was one of those actors that was told to stop making the vroom noise when he was swinging the saber around, because he's like, it was like him being a kid, you know. And like, just my heart is broken for his family and stuff like that. Like, it's tough because, you know, he's gone too soon. But he was one of those that wasn't dialing it in or phoning it in. Like, he absolutely loved Star Wars. He said, if you could pick an episode of Ahsoka, which one would it be? And he was on a red carpet, and he was like, I would pick episodes 1 through 9. It's like, you can't pick. It's like having you ask, like, who's your favorite child? Like, he's such a fan. He was such a fan of what he did. And I'm really saddened by his passing, for sure.
Yeah. It's quite the loss, and it's insane that like he just did this role in Ahsoka, and now he's just like gone. So it's like, if they wanted to use his character in the future,
that's what I was wondering. Like, obviously we don't know how his character plays into it.
So that's probably going to affect the story quite a bit. I'm assuming, but I'll have to see about that. I don't even know if I'm too interested in watching Ahsoka, but I might.
Really?
Yeah. I heard a few negative things about it, but I don't want to get into it. Not on the list of things to talk about. But let's move on to the next thing. So the Disney Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel. I'm sure you guys know.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
It's closed.
Yeah,
they closed it. It's done, dude. So this was a sequel-themed hotel that was priced at an average cost of around $6,000 per night.
Wow.
Really insane. And it really never got a lot of shining reviews. Almost all the ones I've seen were negative, and now after only a year, Disney is closing it for good. Now, I've heard
Disney shutting down another thing.
Yeah.
Listen, let me tell you about this freaking thing. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on this show.
No, go ahead.
I have strong feelings about this freaking Star Cruiser thing.
Oh boy.
First of all, if you do the math, you could, and this is coming from America, obviously, we have some people overseas, but you could fly to Prague and stay in Prague for 10 days for the price at being in a hotel with blacked out windows and high definition screens showing you star fields in Florida for 2 days. You can't even like relax there. Like you're trying to get a drink at this place, or you're trying to relax in your room, and all of a sudden, bang bang, a freaking Wookiee's knocking on your door, and then you got to go upstairs and play some asteroids clone, but you're acting like you're protecting the starship. I hope in canon they say the starship was destroyed by the First Order and everybody on board was killed. That was a stupid idea. Disney was stupid to even like they priced it out. They were basically the villain from Jurassic Park. They were freaking the villain saying, "Oh, we can have a coupon day. We can charge anything we want for people to come to Jurassic Park." That's what Disney thought, and Disney had egg on their face, man. When you could fly to Prague or go to Italy for 2 weeks, and including flight, and that's cheaper than to go to some freaking Marriott hotel with blacked out windows in Florida. They should have seen the writing on the wall. My heart breaks for the people working there, but I have a feeling they all kind of saw the writing on the wall when they started getting their hours decreased, and they lowered it. Oh, cool! You get to go to Disneyland for 2 hours during the day to go on the ride, so you're not even in the hotel for 3 hours or whatever. It's ridiculous.
$6,000.
My rant.
That was a good rant, man. I appreciate that. But that's literally what I heard was these horror stories about how it's basically you're in a concrete box and they just got you trapped in there the whole time, and for the whole day
I saw a video on it.
They essentially make you do these themed events that like you must attend, which are all based around the sequel trilogy. And now I don't know.
You'd love that then, Rage.
You guys know my feelings on the sequel trilogy. I'm not a big fan. And I feel
I don't
like
care if it was the original trilogy. Like if I want to have a daiquiri at the pool, don't bother me. I want to have my beers with my mates.
If they based it,
I don't care if it's a freaking Wookiee coming in saying we need to protect the Star Cruiser. Like that's what you hire the people from the Resistance to do.
It's like what
have my damn drink and play in the cantina.
It's like, what is this, Among Us? Like I gotta go freaking do some jobs on the ship or something to save it? Like what's going on here? But anyway. I feel like if they based it on the prequel or the original trilogy, like I think it would have been way more successful, honestly, because I think people just still care more about the original trilogy than anything else.
But still, from the sounds of it, either way, no matter what era it is, from the sounds of what Kev is saying, if you're trying to relax and you're being like harassed every 2 seconds, I wouldn't really care what era it was from. It would, just piss me off.
Yeah.
So I don't know I just feel like if they based it on the original trilogy, it probably would have made some big boko bucks.
No way, man. I hate to disagree with you. They priced themselves out. No one could afford it. No one was going because no one wanted to spend that ridiculous amount of money.
They should have lowered the price.
You did say 6,000, didn't you? $6,000.
For a family, yeah. It's like not for one person, but for a family, the average cost was $6,000.
I've seen like the size of the hotel room and like how crappy it is. It just reminds me of those like pod hotels.
The bunk beds look so like cramped. Like they look.
The $6,000, you would expect a lot more, and you're just not getting your money's worth.
Like
that's the $10,000 package probably.
It's like even if you take away the fact that it's sequel, the reason it failed is because it's massively overpriced. Once again, it's just Disney punching above their weight. So, just Disney's making all these terrible money decisions. Next podcast, we'll probably be hearing about someone getting fired at Disney for all these terrible financial decisions.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you know who they should fire, and it's actually the person we're going to be talking about next. Get ready. So, I just want to segue a bit into an interesting question that I thought of the other day. So I was watching an interview between George Lucas and Kathleen Kennedy this was way back in the day before George, like right before he sold it. Right, and George Lucas is explaining like the fundamental themes and mythos of like Star Wars and like what it's all about. And the whole time he's sitting there explaining it, like all this deep lore, Kathleen Kennedy is just kind of sitting there like completely bewildered with like a bewilderment look on her face, and she doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. I get the feeling like she just doesn't know what he's talking about at all. And I actually have the clip here for you guys, so let's check it out really quick. I'm gonna share my screen here.
It's about good and evil in us. Mm-hmm. as well as our institutions. So, and the idea that some of us think we're really great people, but in the real world we're not. We're terrible people.
Or you can make bad choices.
Well, you make bad choices, but you run your life in a very selfish way, and you think you're doing good when you're actually not. And at the same time, it's you know, how do democracies turn back into dictatorship? Why do people who have the power to have the freedom and everything turn it over to somebody who's going to take it all away from them? It's happened through history forever and ever, and all Star Wars is a way of updating that idea to say, watch out, because there are people out there who don't play by the rules, and if you're not careful, you're going to lose all your freedom. And at the same time, those people who may not play by the rules, because they're selfish and greedy, turn themselves into evil people who don't care about other people.
Yeah, that's the bit I remember.
And she's just looking at him like she doesn't know what he's on about, dude. Like, like, you know what I mean? And then it's like, and then people wonder why, like, that's the person in charge of Star Wars now, the person, Kathleen Kennedy. So, and then people wonder why Star Wars is in the state it's in. Because George isn't behind the wheel. That's, I think that's the biggest reason. But no, hold on now. This is, so my question is, if you sat down with Kathleen Kennedy yourself and asked her some real deep Star Wars lore, you know, like something that only you know, maybe something from KOTOR or whatever, some kind of theme, like, do you think that she'd be able to like answer it or talk with you or like really like get in depth about things, or would she just sit there like with George and be all?
She went to my alma mater, San Diego State, so I got some love for her, but she lost me when she was interviewed once about they were like, oh well, you know, Star Wars isn't like Marvel. We don't have a large library of books to draw inspiration from.
Goofy, like, man.
Dude, we literally have a whole thing of canon comic books. The Legends books, the Legends comics, like, you're out of your mind. So like, that's when she lost me. But yeah, I don't think she knows a lot about the lore. But I mean, she's a Hollywood exec. Like, I don't really expect anything less.
The heart's not there. That's what I'm saying. George had the heart. Like, he had the heart of it, and that's why whatever he did, at the end of the day, it worked. And like everything that was like based directly off of what he did worked. You know, EU and everything. So, but then it's like you give it to Kathleen Kennedy and Disney executives. It's like, again, it's like all about the money. George didn't do it for the money. He said that a billion times. He did it because he wanted to write a story. It was his story. He wanted to tell a story, and that's it. And that's why he did it his way, no matter what. Because he made so much money from the original trilogy that he could do the prequels and the Clone Wars and whatever he wanted any way he wanted without anyone telling him what to do. And so you get a full...
It was very smart the way he did it, but it was... He was in a very different landscape back in the 70s when he made the originals. I don't think someone would be able to finance it themselves the way he did back then today.
Yeah, and that is a shame too, isn't it? Because when you get those unfiltered, it was from the,
like
pure versions,
the Empire Dreams documentary. If you've seen that on the special editions 2004, it's I can't remember too much of it now, but it's been years since I've seen it. But there's a whole bit dedicated to how cleverly he was when he financed the original film. So like everything came back to him, and he got royalty. He got paid for everything.
Yes. He was like a genius with that back in the day. Like art of the deal type shit. But like when you get those unfiltered, pure stories from people, that's what's great. Like those are like the best stories. You know, like Plato and Homer back in the day, and like all that stuff. Like they didn't have people telling them what to do and restricting certain parts of their story, and like they just told a story and that was it. And then it was great. And so that was like the same with George. And now Star Wars today has too many cooks in the kitchen. There's too many people they want to insert themselves into Star Wars and their ideas and politics into Star Wars, and it just ruins it. It's completely. So yeah, I think
it's no longer the simplicity of one man's vision, albeit you know, people I can levy many of criticisms against him with the prequels and that, but it is still very much his vision and his passion.
All right, so but yeah, I feel like, you know, if we sat down with Kathleen Kennedy, she just wouldn't be able to answer like any questions like about like deeper Star Wars.
No, I don't think she would, but like Kev said, she is, you know, she's the executive. Like there's lots of other, she has a whole creative department at Disney for that reason. It's when they don't know what they're talking about, that's where the real problem lies, because they're the people that are supposed to be there for that.
Like when they hire people that don't even watch the movies and have to ask questions every 10 seconds while they're writing.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, was for the show we're about to talk about. Obi-Wan, remember that gem? Well, guess
Everyone's
what?
favorite.
Yeah, guess what? So some new reports have come out that Obi-Wan Season 2 is unlikely to ever happen.
Why was it ever likely?
I don't know. In a recent interview with the Dagobah Dispatch podcast, Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy once again essentially shut down any hopes for another season of Obi-Wan Kenobi, stating that it was only a limited series and they do not have any plans to expand on it at the moment. So
okay, well, I actually agree with that for once. I think that's actually a smart decision.
Yeah. So it's not a definitive no, but it certainly doesn't sound like there's a promising future there. Now, I personally feel like the Obi-Wan show is a complete failure, and I would not care one bit if it never got a season 2. Granted, there were a few parts of it that were somewhat good. You know, it wasn't a complete piece of shit, but overall, for the most part, it was just another Disney Star Wars failure. And the negative reviews and reception definitely show that. What's that for?
It was just disappointing. The most hype behind it, you know, we got Deborah Chow directing it, and the trailers looked amazing. It was just
the writing and the acting just wasn't there, I think. And
and just like even when you go back and look, there was some bizarre directing and editing choices, and it's just you look and think like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
happened?
like when she punches
Obi-Wan.
the storm, like she slaps the stormtrooper in his helmet, and he just like falls over dead.
And then the little laser barricade that they can just run around.
That shit. Oh my god, man, it's like
that's
so
all
bad.
Like we did a movie cut of it. My main thing was it's egos of the filmmakers. Like, I actually liked the show. The show got my wife into Star Wars, like, because we watched it over a little summer last summer. Like, we were in Hawaii, and like, I remember we were in Hawaii. The episode of the Hayden flashback came out, and we were watching on the iPad, and we got back, and then she finished it with me, and then that made her want to watch the prequels. Like, so for me, like, that was a win.
Well, that's cool.
We did a movie version of it, which was way better. We cut out all the nonsense. And the thing that I didn't like about Deborah Chow was, and it was her she's a director, she's protecting her composer, but like, how do you not use established themes from, like, Vader's theme is not heard until the final scene, like at the very end, like, and she's like, well, that's when he truly becomes Vader. It's like, well, then you're not paying attention, because the theme was played in episode 2, Attack of the Clones. The theme was played at the end of Revenge of the Sith. Like, so the Vader theme should have been in there, and it wasn't. Like, and that was crazy. So we did we did a movie about it, where we cut it down. Another guy did it, and he got there's some other one that's coming out that's crazy, like with CGI. Pixel Joker's his name. That's going to be insane.
I've seen that, yeah.
There was another one that came out right before ours, and I feel like ours is better. Like, he was just overscoring everything, like, and like shots from the opening from like too overused music. Like I was saying on your stream the other day, Boxman, like, using like famous Empire Strikes Back themes as they're like going over the dunes of Tatooine, like that, even though it was from the same part of Hoth. Like, no. But like, we did it where like we did what we did with KOTOR. Like, every now and then we would just sprinkle in, like, when they're talking about Padme, we sprinkled in the Across the Stars theme, right? Like little things like that. Leia's theme happens much sooner. When he catches Leia, like, the first time Obi-Wan uses the Force should be the first time we hear the Force blare in like Triumph when he catches Leia, and he's reactivated the Force, right? Doesn't do it. So we added that, and actually we edited it to that's when Anakin's eyes open up, because that makes the most sense. That it's not from Obi-Wan saying Anakin, it's from Obi-Wan using the Force for the first time. That wakes up Anakin, and we did a lot of cool things that you guys. I'd be interested to see if that saves the show for you, because like, I just think a lot of the things we were hoping to see, you know, they have a Duel of the Fates theme in the trailer, and you're amped for it, because like, that's not Duel of the Fates, sorry, Battle of the Heroes, and you're like, man, that was their fight, right? And
they
then you
used a bit of Duel of the Fates as well, I think.
So I'll send you guys a link. You can see it.
I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, I'll have to watch that. That sounds good.
We
sounds way better than we got.
In the beginning, we do it like we made his life so mundane. Where we like edited, you'll see together. It was something that Brandon Twigg, Darth Icy, he's part of the KOTOR team. He did it, and it was like, it's like this. We show this like over and over, like how hard Obi-Wan's days were, and like I was like, let's do no music, and so it's literally like the opening of like Castaway with Tom Hanks, but with Obi-Wan. But yeah, we do a lot of subtle changes, and then we don't go back to Luke in the desert. Like Reva, like a lot of people have opinions on Reva. I don't think she was so terrible. I don't know why everybody is all of a sudden surviving stab wounds. Like Qui-Gon should have got the memo. So we do. Spoiler alert: we kill Reva when she gets stabbed by Vader, because that's what would happen.
Hell yeah, dude. But
So
yeah, I hated the whole thing with her chasing
either
Luke
way.
too. Like that was just so dumb. That was like so incredibly stupid.
Yeah, I've got one question about your edit, and I hope you kept in the brilliant moment where the Grand Inquisitor pops back up and just goes, "Hello." That is my favorite bit of the entire show.
He's like, I
You'll
live,
have to see,
bitch.
buddy.
But
We definitely have some fun with it. So yeah, I mean, but you know, I'm all in favor of more Star Wars. I feel like Star Wars, here's my opinion. Star Wars is like pizza. And pizza is like sex. Even when you have bad sex, even when you have bad pizza, you're still eating pizza. You're still having sex. You're still getting Star Wars. So I know that's opinion that's changed from a lot of other people that are like, no, leave my Star Wars alone. But for me, like, I am older than you guys. Like, I'm an elder statesman. I grew up in an era where all we had was the Heir to the Empire books. And we went 6-7 years without Star Wars. So, you know, people complaining about, oh, there's more Star Wars. And like, I know some of you guys are anti-Disney, and I get that. Like, I understand your reasons for it. But for me, it's like, look, they're gonna throw a lot of shit to the wall. The stuff that doesn't stick for you, just put it away. Don't watch it again, but let it come out, you know, because that's when the brilliant stuff, like some of these shorts in the Vision show, that's when those things kind of pop out. Like if you didn't see Visions, you watch Journey to Big Head, or I forget the name of it. Like that is some brilliant stuff. The Screecher episode is brilliant, and you're not gonna get that. If it was back in the day where, you know, there was like one Star Wars thing out every 3 years. So for me, I'm like, bring it on. The stuff I don't like, and believe me, I don't like everything. Like, I honestly, like, then I'm just like, okay, I don't need to watch that again. You know, but maybe someone else will like it. And that's kind of my positive approach to my fandom, you know?
it's funny. I kind of think it was better back in the day when we only got Star Wars every once in a while, because then when we finally did, it was usually like always really good and like a nice treat. And it's like, and then we always had the EU in between.
When you waited all those years for the Phantom Menace, you weren't. I don't know if you were aware. I don't know how old you are, but when Phantom Menace came out, there you could hear the collective hearts breaking of all these Star Wars fans when they waited that long, and everybody hated Jar Jar. Like so. Like it's not like it's gold when there's such a delay in between episodes, because back then in 1999 and then 2002, man, when Attack of the Clones came out, now all these movies have been a lot of us, because the younger generation that liked it when they were kids, right? Like that liked Jar Jar, that liked those movies, they are now old and they are the vocal majority.
George said it, dude.
And that's why everyone's starting. Yeah, George is smart.
Star Wars is for kids
now, but back then. The older generation hated it, right? So for me, like I actually like them, so I was fine. But I just think that more Star Wars, the merrier, you know?
Yeah. I gotta disagree, but because I think it's getting watered down. I feel like Star Wars is becoming too watered down. Like there's just so much coming out, and it's like, and the more Jedi they have survive Order 66, the more it takes away from, like, you know, Order 66 itself. Like it's just like all these Jedi are surviving it all the time, and it's just like, and that's just one symptom of it. But I respect your opinion, of course, and if you can enjoy it, I mean that's great. Like good for you. But I'm very critical.
I feel like I'm in between. I'm in between. I can see Kev's point completely, and I agree with a lot of it, and also. Yeah, at the same time, I think there is perhaps a bit too much Star Wars at the moment. Sort of the same problem I have with Marvel. It's almost becoming like a chore to keep up with everything that's coming out all the time. But because they are chucking so much shit at the one, seeing what's sticking, you do get things like Andor, which I could not have given less of shit about when it came out, and it ended up being probably one of the best pieces of Star Wars content I've seen.
I still have yet to see it.
You're missing out. You're missing out big time.
You gotta see that, man.
It was good. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't nearly as bad as some of the other stuff they've done recently.
I preferred that to the recent season of The Mandalorian and quite a lot of Star Wars.
Well, the only thing I really liked, like from start to finish that Disney did, was probably Rogue One. I mean, I liked Mandalorian season 1 and 2 as well, but season 3 was a bit iffy. I wanted to ask, how old are you, Kevin, if you don't mind me asking?
44, my friend, 44. Get checked early. I got cancer when I was 42, and the screening age for colon cancer is 45. If I would have waited till 45, would be a dead man right now. So, or I would be I'd be a dead man right now because the cancer would have spread by last year, and I wouldn't be raising my daughter. So, I'm proud of. I'm not ashamed to say that I'm 44 years old. But even for me, that is young.
That's not old. Yeah, that's not really old. There's like people in their 70s that wish they could be 44 again. But I'm probably the second oldest then, because I'm 32, and I think Tom is like, what are you, like 22?
I'm 29.
29.
Oh, I'm the youngest.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm 29.
You're young.
I'm 26.
Young buck.
Public service announcement for everyone watching to go get tested for cancer.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But no, I wanted to say I was on the complete opposite spectrum of you, Kevin, because I grew up with. I was born in '93, so I actually went to the theaters and I watched The Phantom Menace, and it like brought me into Star Wars. It was amazing. I loved it. It's probably my favorite memory of all time.
See, that's what's great. Like, and by the way, I loved it too. But I was surrounded by people because this is how old I am. I was at college down at San Diego State, same school as Kathleen Kennedy, although she was a couple years earlier than me, obviously. But everybody in college, I remember just collectively disappointed because they were wanting it to be what they. And here's why I love George Lucas and why I think that Disney failed in their sequels. Believe me, The Force Awakens is really high up there. But what I didn't like was George Lucas made chances and choices. He was like, look, this is so many years before the original trilogy. So look at the ship design, right, of the Nubian ships and of the starfighters, the N1s. Like, they don't look anything like X-wings and TIE fighters. Whereas when Disney, they were probably like, look, they were under the impression that everybody hated the prequel, so let's get it more back to the original trilogy. So it's like, do our cars look the same 35 years ago than they do now? No. And so like there's no way that it would still have X-wings and TIE fighters look exactly the same. So that's a failure there where I think George Lucas succeeded in the prequels. But the problem was all the people in my age gap in my age range that aren't like me, where I loved them, they were hating it. They wanted it. They're like, what they would have loved the Force Awakens. They wanted a Force Awakens Phantom Menace, right? But that's not to be. George Lucas was like, no, this is a different universe. It's a less lived in universe still. Like, let's show a new side of things, So that's cool that it brought you in, because honestly, like, I loved the soundtrack, like, notwithstanding buying the CD a couple days before the movie, and they had Qui-Gon's Noble End as a track that was stupid. But other than that, like, it brought me in, and I'm glad it brought you in. Like, you are totally like, that would be, you are a perfect age range, and that's what brought you in, and that's probably why you think highly of the Attack of the Clone. You might even like the prequels better than the originals, and I know my wife does, and you know what I mean, like, because she's younger. Like,
I've done a critical examination.
32 years old, so
I've done a critical examination of the prequels many times, and they're actually like genius, like with the way they. I'm sure you saw the video where George explains how they rhyme with the original trilogy. It's like they do.
Of course.
It's a very real thing. And the writing is everybody complains and they say, oh, well, the acting is like Wood and Varkor. Well,
there is some.
It's operatic. It's supposed to be like an opera. Star Wars is a space opera. That's what it's supposed to be. And so that's why the acting is the way it is, because George is all about the sound bites. You know what I mean? Like, the sounds from Star Wars are iconic, right? They're you hear like a blaster go off, or Boba Fett's the bomb, the seismic charge, or like anything. It's like
the Wilhelm scream.
Yeah, the Wilhelm scream. Well, that's like in a lot of movies, but it's iconic, And so those sound bites also translate into the dialogue itself. The dialogue is also sound bites. It's not meant to be like candid, real dialogue.
That's an epic line. Even Leonardo DiCaprio couldn't make that.
It's why it's so memeable. It's why the prequels are so freaking memeable, because the lines are like so iconic and it's supposed to be.
My argument to people too is like, remember the famous line everybody loved? Empire's my favorite of all of them, right? And
I love Episode 5.
And I know that's the easy answer, but like legit is like, growing up, like, that was my favorite too, and I had all the toys. But like, one of the famous lines in there, it's like, my hands are dirty, and Han says, my hands are dirty too. If that came out in this era, like, that would be memed, and they'd be like, look at that dialogue.
Yeah,
like,
it's the same thing. They complain about Anakin being whining, and then it's like Luke literally whines, like, but I want to go to Tashi Station because the power converter. Like that's it's been here forever, guys. Like, I don't know. There's nothing new, honestly. It's
again, I think it's rose tinted glasses. I have three things to say before we wrap up and move on. Number one being, I liked Jar Jar. and I love the prequels. Phantom Menace is my favorite. I'm just gonna leave that there.
Same.
The other thing I was gonna say was before we move too far away from it was I liked seeing Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor on screen again as Anakin and Obi-Wan. It was amazing. Even if most of the show I didn't like, I did like that. Like, it was really good. So I enjoyed that. And then my last question would be, as someone who's part of the older demographic who probably saw the originals when they came out, you said you wanted an episode 7, 8, and 9 when 1, 2, and 3 came out. Having since seen episodes 7, 8, and 9, what do you think of them? Since that's what your age gap wanted.
No, that's not what I meant. I meant people back in my age and in '99. They would have wanted Phantom Menace to be more closer to the original trilogy, meaning instead of N1 Starfighters, you know what I mean? They wanted that familiarity of TIE fighters and X-Wings and all
the
that.
N1 Starfighter is my favorite Starfighter. It's such a great design.
The only thing, I actually like the sequel trilogy. I actually don't hate The Last Jedi as much as many people do. I think Force Projecting
we mentioned that film.
Yeah. But I will say this. I was convinced after episode 7 that they were going to take the Revan storyline and give it to Rey. Because everybody's talking about why is Rey such a Mary Sue? Why is she so strong? And then her vision, for some reason, if you watch it like frame for frame in her vision, that Force vision or whatever, it's Kylo stabbing someone in the back, stabbing one of the Knights of Ren, as like Rey turns around, right? And so I was like, dude, they are gonna pull. I literally called it, and obviously I was wrong, but I thought in The Last Jedi we were gonna find out that Rey was actually Kylo Ren before, and that it was the whole same thing. Like, her mind was wiped, and then she was thrown on the children. Memory was all fake and bullshit.
I thought they were gonna do that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, and then they didn't do it. So
it was all over the place.
But actually,
I thought the writing was very messy, all over the place, like Rage said.
Jar Jar wanted to do one thing, and then I said Jar Jar. That's right. He wanted to do one thing, and then Ruin Johnson wanted to do another, and then you go back to Jar Jar again, and then he tries to fix what he did wrong, but it was too late. And it's like it's terrible.
The Khan thing was stupid. Like, they should have had a plan. Like Varkor could fight, and it's in a smaller scale, obviously, but you have KOTOR won the game, so we had the overall thread. And then when we did our movies, and we had separate sagas, obviously, but we branched off and did our own things, but we always knew the thread line. We always knew we have to get to this certain point because we had to follow that game. They should have, when they did The Force Awakens, been like, this is set up, and then Ryan, here's what you got to do. You got to do this stuff and this stuff, and then for Trevorrow, you're gonna have to land the plane, and you have to do this and this. So they knew it going in, so they had an overall arc that would follow. But instead, it was like they were contradicting themselves. Then JJ was re-contradicting. And then trying to it was kind of a mess that way, and that's unfortunate because you need to have an overall goal, and they needed a Kevin Feige at that point, because in Marvel, as much as it was that phase 1 and phase 2 leading up to Endgame, everything had a plan, everything was kind of purpose, and had a purpose, and with Star Wars, it was with the sequels. That's my only thing. It's you have so many opportunities, and then you just kind of threw them away. And I think that The Force Awakens the best out of all three of them, and the death of Carrie Fisher really railroaded that third movie. If you ever read the Duel of the Fates script, there's also a motion comic. Someone drew a comic on it, and then someone animated it on YouTube. Look for it. You could find it. It would have been a superior film, and maybe even saved the trilogy as a whole. But yeah, I mean, I can tell here, there's a few of you guys here that are very anti-Disney and and you have every right to be, because I've met fans that love it, fans that hate it. A lot of fans of our KOTOR movies, Varkor will attest, they always write in the comments, "Oh, I wish you did it instead of Disney." We both get those kind of comments. So
weekly basis.
It comes down to this. It comes down to the reason. I'm not just hating to hate. It's
of course not.
Things that they do in the movie contradict the canon and mythos of the of Star Wars overall.
Yeah.
And do it a disservice. So if that wasn't the case, I'd be a little more lenient. But things like the Holdo maneuver and Rey being a Mary Sue, which she is. I'm sorry, she is. She's able to mind control somebody with the Force, like without any training.
I tell you,
like
she should have been Revan. It should have been that she was powerful all along.
Right, that would have been a good way to explain it, sure, but that wasn't the case.
Yeah, like that muscle memory kicking back in for her.
Yeah.
right. So it would make sense in that case, but that wasn't the case. So it's just, I don't know. But anyway, I don't want to we're way too in the weeds already. Let's get to the questions, guys.
I was just going to say...
What?
I was just going to say, if you take away the politics and the controversy and, every silly opinion, when I watched 7, 8, and 9, it just didn't feel like Star Wars to me. Like, it didn't capture the essence that the other movies did. That's not the Force Awakens. My main reason why I didn't like it.
Force Awakens, I admit, Force Awakens wasn't that bad. I actually enjoyed it to a good degree.
I can enjoy the Force Awakens on its own as just it's a rip off of A New Hope. I think that's why it's enjoyable, because when you're copying something that's already good,
right.
You're already on the basis for it.
All right, like I said, guys, it is question time. For the time for the fun stuff. So Varkor, do you want to go first, or do you want to go first, Kevin? Who wants their questions?
We'll let Kevin go first. He's the first one.
All right, Kevin. So, what inspired you to make KOTOR Machinima? Give us the story.
It's way back in 2003.
Woo!
It's a fresh game in the Xbox. I had a roommate at the time, and then we had a temporary roommate, and he was in between jobs, and he just stayed with us. And I had KOTOR, and he blasted through it before I even did. He even got that famous glitch, if you do mission and stealth. And in the Leviathan, and then you come out of it, the cutscene, Karth can't see your character because you're in stealth still. It applies stealth to the main character, and you literally have to leave your Xbox on while the Dungeons and Dragons formula rolls the dice over and over again. And so I'll never forget, we left the Xbox on, and it took a day and a half before it finally rolled the dice, and all of a sudden, the TV was on, and it went to the next cut frame, because he did not want to lose his progress.
I never knew about that glitch. What?
Oh yeah, look, it's called the Karth mission glitch. The Karth glitch. It's a famous thing. So basically, if you do mission and then you're in stealth mode and you rescue your comrades on the Leviathan, when you get back and they're doing the next cutscene, they apply your stealth to your Revan character, and then Karth can't see your character, so you can't. It's just on him, and he's not asking you a question, because even the cutscenes are using that formula, and so. Until he can see you, and it's like a 1, I forget what it was, something crazy, 1 in 780 or something, because Karth has 0 ability to see you, right? You didn't build that up for him because it's impossible. Pretty crazy.
It's so weird. I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, the Karth glitch. Look it up. But so he stayed with me, and then I had a roommate that was and then the twist. I sat there on the couch and watched him play the twist. I was so blown away by it, and I wanted my other roommate to see it, but my other roommate at the time was he doesn't really play video games, but he loves Star Wars. So then I thought, I'll just make a movie about it, and he could see it that way. Little did I know that it would take me longer than it would for him to just play the game for 60 hours, obviously, to get to episode 2 and the twist. But he did see it. He was spoiler-free for it. He spent all those years avoiding spoilers, and he was just as impressed as I thought he'd be. So, it literally came down to I kind of wanted to keep my editing skills fresh, because I had moved to Austin for a spell, and I wasn't doing work in my field, and so I was like, well, this is a good thing to do. It keeps me fresh, and it's you feel like you're editing a Star Wars movie, so... Yeah, it literally was just to make a movie, so when I would tell people about it, they wouldn't have to spend 30 hours getting to that point. They can just watch a couple movies.
So if your housemate had played the game already at the time, we wouldn't be talking right now.
Well, no, I bought it. Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know if I would ever went to make movies at it, because again, it's such a weird... I was thinking about this the other day, there's such a community for people making their KOTOR movies, right? Before you and I, there was other one, well, not before me. I think I might have been the first, but there've been a ton after, right? And what makes people? What about this game is the game that everybody wants to? You don't see tons of machinima movies based on the Force Unleashed and everything like that. It was this game had that certain quality, and it was obviously where you can hack into the game and do the mods, which helped. It's funny, I don't know if there's another game. Did Dragon Age and any of these other BioWare games get this?
You can do all these kind of things with Dragon Age and Mass Effect, and even Jedi Academy and stuff like that. But it's never. I guess
Jedi Academy would be the closest.
There's something real special about KOTOR, man. There's just something really special about it. It's just such a good story, such a good game. It's just
there's so many different ways you can interpret it as well, which is probably what so many people find interesting about
it
doing
is,
their own
yeah, especially with
adaptations.
KOTOR too, with Kreia and all her philosophies. There's just so many ways you can interpret things, and it's a oh my god, man, it's why we're all here. I mean, KOTOR is amazing, but and that's why no matter what happens with the remake, whether it's good or bad, we'll always have the original, and that's what we got to remember, you know. So I'm guessing then my next question was, when was the first time you ever played KOTOR? I'm gonna guess back in 2003 then.
Yeah, right when it came out. Yeah, I remember playing it, and I remember I picked the Logan face, like the guy I have is like, and I never like, I guess like in the files he's named like Asian Face 1. I never even thought he looked Asian to me. I was like, oh, he's badass with a goatee. Like, I'm gonna pick that guy, baldy with a goatee. And I've never played the game with any other face aside from
not even Mullet Man.
Yeah, it's aside from I had to play through it to get those Bria Hudson scenes before we were able to mod. Like, we had to play the game. And here's a funny story. You know, now that you can mod it, and like Varkor's movies are a testament to that. You can just open it up like a play box, and you can do whatever you want. Before that, in 2014, when I'm working on episode 3, the modding wasn't quite there yet, and so I had Jenks, a fellow teammate. Bless this guy. I shipped him my Xbox. And he played KOTOR, because I was like, I can't do this. I don't have the time. Like, it's never going to happen. And he volunteered. So he played the game, because I have all these side characters with different NPC faces, or different PC faces. And I needed, like, the female face. I needed 2 others for the twins, Jedi twins, and then for Caden Sentry. All side characters based on with their PC faces. So he beat the game. He made it to Starforge, because I needed them for the Starforge. He beat the game like 6 times for 6 different characters, shipped the Xbox back to me, and that's when we discovered more about the modding, and I ended up never using a single save state, because I didn't have to do it on the Xbox anymore. And we always laugh about that, because that kid, he deserved a gold medal. He deserved... every time he visited me, I would always buy him his beers, because I'm like, you played KOTOR and beat it 6 times for me to not use it once.
That is crazy. And so what would you say is better, KOTOR 1 or KOTOR 2, and why?
KOTOR 2 has the better lore and the better questions asked. I think KOTOR 2 would have made a great HBO show, like with a really good showrunner, right? But KOTOR 1 is just a special place in my heart, because it checks all the boxes for what like you could do with a trilogy, or even if you were to do a standalone, all that would be tight. Like in the order of things that I did, like I ended episode 1 with the Kashyyyk level, and that meant everybody celebrates and it's happy ending, and just like A New Hope, right? Just like the end of Phantom Menace, you could end with like a celebration. And then the second movie, is the middle part of the game where you find the twist, and that's totally like the I Am Your Father twist. It's like separating it into 2-hour movies made it almost perfect as a trilogy, right? And then the third one has the big Death Star 2 battle. It has the Starforge battle. And so as terms of movie making, I think that KOTOR, the first KOTOR, is the superior for making a movie trilogy. And I think that all these guys that have done the Iceman and Varkor, who have done KOTOR 2 trilogies or sagas, have done a great job with it. But I've always thought that like a KOTOR 2, that would have been like a crazy dark HBO show, you know, like in the vein of like House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones.
It helps that with in general the story of the first KOTOR, like you can tell by when they wrote it, they pretty much just based it on the original trilogy, like you say, with the beats, like the end of Act 1, Act 2 with the Leviathan.
It rhymes, dude. Just like prequels with the original trilogy, it's the same thing, and that's probably why it's so great. It's but you know what? And you know what's even greater?
Tricky mess.
Well, this is a thing I realized even as a kid when I was playing KOTOR. I realized that KOTOR is literally the prequels in the original trilogy like combined, because like you got all these themes from the prequels mixed in with like themes from the original trilogy, like the Ebon Hawk. It's the Millennium Falcon. Let's be real.
Yeah.
But then you got a double-bladed lightsaber, which is a Darth Maul thing that wasn't introduced to the prequels. And then you got
a lot of the shiny glossiness of KOTOR 1 is very reminiscent of the design of the prequels.
Right. So it's like both trilogies mixed together, and it's so great. It's fantastic. I love it. So what is your favorite KOTOR project, Kevin, that you've worked on?
Well,
like out of all the machinimas, which one's the best?
Oh, for me, it's the Circle of Fate. The third one is definitely hands down the best. I always loved Veil of the Dark Side, our second one, because it had the twist. In terms of like storytelling. Like honestly, when I show someone new who hasn't seen it, like as much as it's fun, like the first one's fun, and we don't really have an up to date with high resed up episode 2 yet, so I would always avoid that. Like episode 3, we have the prologue, you can catch you up, but it's kind of a special place in my heart. I really was proud of like what we did with the Uthura rewrite. So like the first half of the movie, I think is just stellar and like captivating on a different level. And then the final battle and everything that we were able to accomplish with that as well. So I would say for my saga, I definitely prefer the Circle of Fate. That's what I would show someone, even if they haven't seen the first 2. I'd be like, dude, watch this one first. If you like it, then go back and watch the other 2.
That's cool, man. I gotta watch that one. Then I've been trying to go through all your guys' stuff. You guys have a lot of movies. I've been trying to go through it, so I'll put that on the list.
Man. You know the KOTOR game anyway, left and like backwards and forwards.
Oh, yeah.
So you could dive right in even without the prologue. But I would say Circle of Fate is the good stepping stone.
And then if you want to be fucking depressed afterwards, you can watch Heart of Darkness.
Right.
Yeah,
I know,
dude.
It's a dark one.
Your Heart of Darkness, when I watched it, I felt like the end of Return of the King, but like reverse. Like the end of Return of the King, you're exhausted, and it's like a happy ending. You're happy for everybody. The end of Heart of Darkness, you're just depressed. But you feel like you just watched an epic. You know what I mean? So it's great. It makes you want to continue watching because you want to see what happens. So what made me want to do our Convergence movie, man.
And it's really cool. I just recently, when I was like for the podcast, I was looking into you guys a little bit. And I typed in on Google KOTOR Machinima, and I clicked images, and you guys all pop up. It's like Varkor, like your picture, like some of your movies, Kevin. Yeah. So when you type in just KOTOR Machinima, you guys are like front and center. So
we used to be high up for KOTOR the movie too. If you typed in KOTOR movie, but now there's been so many articles, like when it was like rumored that there'd be one,
Yeah.
And dude, just so you know, like Ken Knapsack in the Star Wars Explain, all those people. Like when I was in the Schmodown world, I would hang out with these guys, and I'm not saying that it's not one of them that broke it, but someone else told me a story that he had literally seen that Disney had a Revan script. It wasn't a KOTOR script. It was going to be a Revan script.
Really?
He didn't know anything other than he didn't know if they were just going to repurpose it. It was going to be another timeline, but like that's how close Disney came. Like he had seen. It's the same guy that saw there was an Obi-Wan script, obviously, and that was later confirmed by Kasdan that like they took the movie script version of it and then expanded upon it to make their show. But this is the same guy that's like, he saw the Obi-Wan script and the Revan script. Like he didn't get to open it up, but he like saw them. Like he saw the physical copies.
They gotta know it's a cash cow just waiting to get milked. I mean, they gotta know that they should. But again, I don't know if I trust Disney. I don't know if they'd do a good job. Because if they did produce something Revan or KOTOR related and it sucked, I'd be very sad. I would. I'm a lot more lenient with Star Wars these days. But I think if they touch the Old Republic, I would be very, very critical of it. Oh, of course, that more than anything. All right, Varkor, it's time for your questions. So, what are your plans, Varkor, for future projects? What besides, I guess, Convergence? What else are you working on?
Nothing aside from Convergence. That is literally whenever I have free time, which these days isn't all the time anymore, unfortunately. But that is literally my 100% attention. I was literally editing something for it right before we hopped on the call. And yeah, I'm not looking past this. This is just, I've got a couple of ideas of things I'd like to do maybe in the future, but this is 100% my focus at the moment.
Gotcha. Okay. And what was it like working with Kevin here and his team, or what's it been like?
It's been great. I mean, obviously it's still ongoing. It's going to be going right up till we're done. But yeah, it's been going great. Like we've got our own sort of like little group chat together, and we're always spamming it with 10 million different things. Me and Kev are texting all the time about things, and it's just been brilliant. Like I say, I'm such a big fan of his original films. That's the reason I started doing these, and obviously Darth ICs as well. And then they merged together, and to work with these guys now, and like I can't really say like what I'm doing without spoilers and that, but like to have like Loganverse, as they call it, characters on my computer screen whilst I'm working on it with my characters in it as well. It's surreal because I've been such a fan of it for years. So to now have it and be in control of it in a way myself, it's bizarre and it's brilliant.
To his credit too, he's very patient because the one thing that you notice, like because Varkor works very fast, like insanely fast, and like for me, like I work full time, I have a child, like it is, and a family, like it is very difficult. Iceman going through some stuff, personal stuff with his family, like some challenges himself. Jenks as well. Like on the Loganverse team, we are a collection of people that have so many things going on. I'm not saying that Varkor doesn't, but
I just don't have a life. I just sit here.
Because like Varkor gets so far ahead, and he's like, all right, I'm ready for the next thing, and like. So the deal is that I'm doing animatics because I don't really do much of the animation. Like these guys are the wizards. Like I've always just been the writing, and I've always done animatics. And I have some animatics I think on my channel, but like they're like South Park animations. But like even Varkor could attest. Like I get pretty creative with them, like with movements and stuff. And so I'm doing all of the scenes that take place with Logan and like my characters solely. Like I gotta animatic those, and I know that he's waiting patiently. He's waiting on some costumes to get finished too, and like so I'll give him credit. Like I know that he works at a fast pace, and he's kind of had to slow down a little bit, and that's just due to real life kind of stepping forward, and it's no one's fault obviously. Like especially with the personal issues that one of our team members is going through, family stuff.
Yeah.
But he's been great, and like it's. A lot of people when his movies came out, like they were like, "Oh, you see, this guy's doing his own movie," and it's like, I remember you from the forums back when you were young, man. Like, it was like it was an honor to like see that you were doing these movies, and I absolutely love them. So being able to like talk to him every day and like he's been now a part of my daily. I know it was a question for him and I took over, but he's just been a part of my daily routine now, and I like that. I'm glad.
No, it's true. Like I wake up like every morning, obviously because the time zone difference is in like 10 million fucking messages from like our group chat. And I was like, right, there's this. Kept saying that. Right, okay, gotta do this. Nope, we're doing that now.
That's great.
Yeah, it's been great. Obviously, it's a bit challenging because obviously we're in different time zones a lot of the time, but yeah, we're getting it done, aren't we? Like we're getting there, and it's going to be amazing when it's done.
I'm really looking forward to it. Really looking forward. So if you guys want to talk about the movie at all, reveal anything, or just talk about it, now's the time before we close out the podcast.
What can we?
Yeah, I mean, I think the bombshells we dropped since your last appearance on here, because I found it and I listened to it. We revealed that Yoda is in it and the World Between Worlds is in it. Like one of our guys on my team was able to create the World Between Worlds literally in the KOTOR engine.
And he did it based on he literally took one of the modules from the Starforge and turned it into this. I don't know how he does it. I was talking to him yesterday about something else we've got planned for it, and how he does this stuff I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy, and he does it so effortlessly. And I know the thing he's talking to you about doing, and like it sounds like it would be so crazy to do. It's gonna be so easy for him. You know what I mean?
I ask him these things. He's like, "Oh, give me a challenge."
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a perfect example too. Like, well, I'll get to that later. But yeah, so for Convergence, like we got Yoda's gonna be in it, like because that's when there's no time and space, right? Like Yoda could be in it. So you're gonna see our heroes interact with Yoda, which I think is pretty cool. And then what was the other thing we were talking about where I was like, oh, we should well, he dropped a couple new images that you can see on his Discord channel and on his I'm sure he'll drop it on his YouTube, the Cathol Rift, which is something I think we took from like a role-playing game. It was like a little known thing about the Cathol Rift that also messed with time and space, and it was either from a role-playing game or a card game, something, but like our writer was so good at like being able to pull things that are considered canon, or in our case Legends canon, and apply it to Convergence. So there is a very real and understandable reason of why our two sagas and universes would kind of converge. And like you said last time, like it started out as a cheeky joke, like we were going to be funny, and I'm like, oh, let's have them run through a Lego Star Wars land, and you know what I mean, like, and then they'll, I was like,
it was going to be like a little skit to start with, wasn't it? And then it was like, oh, what about half an hour thing? And now we've got a 2-hour movie script.
2-hour thing plus, and you got asked this last time and you couldn't commit to it, but I can say it. Like we literally and I won't tell you who would be the protagonist or antagonist. We literally have what Disney didn't do. We have a 3-movie plan. We have a 3 Convergence movie plan where we would have 2 sequels, and it would the things that are happening in Convergence.
Really?
It paid off in the third one, like it would be a thread line. Now, will that take us 15 years? Probably, but one day maybe we'll get to it. But I know that Varkor is going to want to get back to his furious pace with his other projects that he had. And he, to his credit, like once we started talking about it, like he was like, hey, I'm going to put that other thing on hold and let's do this. So
it just would have been too much to juggle two things like that.
So how did you guys did you guys just take like Master Vandar and you painted him green pretty much? Is that what you did?
Yeah, it's literally just the Vandar model, and it's just like it's a reskin of him.
That's
with
cool.
a special thing. I was like, we're not using AI for this voice, and we're not going to use repurpose Vandar lines so we can't use any lines from Yoda from Clone Wars. So we hired a guy and that has that specific gravelly voice of the Frank Oz Yoda.
That's great.
So I'm very excited. I was telling him I really want to get to the animatic of that, but he needs me to do other stuff first. But like, it is the Frank Oz grovelly, like not quite. There's a difference between the Tom Kane one and his, and it sounds straight up Yoda from Empire Strikes Back.
That's awesome.
A couple takes don't, but a couple of them, like being able to merge a couple takes together, like you will know it's Yoda, that it's not Vandar, because that was our main thing. It's like, dude, people are gonna think he's Vandar, especially if it's the Tom Kane voice again. But we have a Frank Oz impersonator. We tracked him down, and he specifically does a Frank Oz impersonation. So
I think with all the voices in this film across the board, like everyone is bringing their A game. Obviously, Kev's been doing Logan for years, and literally whenever you talk, Kev, all I can hear is Logan. So when you were ranting about the Star Cruiser earlier, all I could hear was Logan not happy with the Star Cruiser. Obviously, we've got new voices for like Bastila, because we don't have Jennifer Hale, and again, we didn't want to do AI and stuff like that. So just across the board, all the voices
to hire,
I'm really
like
excited
Jennifer
about.
Hale, I would like shit my pants.
That'd be amazing.
We got Jennifer Hale to say KOTOR, man. Jenks met her at a convention, and this is how cool Jennifer Hale is. It was so loud at the convention, and it was we had our radio show called KOTOR Radio, and so Jennifer Hale, this fucking star, excuse my language, climbs under the desk with Jenks at a convention to record, hey, this is Jennifer Hale, and you're listening to KOTOR Radio.
That's so cool.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, as you can tell, we're just we're a bit excited about this.
No, it's awesome. I love the enthusiasm. and if you guys remember, if you guys ever need any help voice wise, I'll be there. I'll be here.
I think you have done something for me.
Remember this? He said he already promised you. I was like, well, there is a sequence, and I don't want to explain it without getting in trouble, like Mark Ruffalo would. There is a sequence where there would totally be a spot for other Revans, and so we're thinking. I was like, "Hey, we gotta get Boxman's Revan."
Valancourt, Valancourt is like the Deadpool of the Revans. Like he's like a jokester, you know what I mean? Like
canon, bro.
Oh, I love it, man.
Your voice is definitely in there, Rage. If you remember, you did a character for me.
That's right. Oh my god, you're right. Okay, cool.
That's the next scene I've got to do after the one I'm working on at the moment. So it might be a few weeks, but I'll send you a preview of it when it's done.
That's awesome, guys. Okay, I'm really looking forward to it.
Before we sign off here, I am doing something like, and Varkor knows this too, like it came real easy to me because I had all the ISO. So you got to work with the algorithm. YouTube's kind of a fickle thing, and so I really needed to get some releases out there because it's going to be a while for Convergence, and we had to stop down on our KOTOR 3 machinima because of the personal issues that one of our crewmates are going through. So I'm doing this thing called KOTOR Awesome Mix, where I'm basically re-editing or rescoring rather my first KOTOR movie, A Familiar Path. But the rules are I gotta act like I'm James Gunn, and it's all like Logan in my movies has always been a music snob. It's an inside joke from the movies that have been out for years. And so literally now, this is how magical Iceman is, our crew member. He's already imported like a Walkman iPhone and earbuds, and so for the very beginning of KOTOR, it's going to establish that Logan always has this on him. And I'm rescoring the whole thing like a Guardians of the Galaxy movie with there's a clip on my channel you can see right now. Where it has like a Billy Idol song set to a speeder bike chase, but I finished the first episode. It doesn't even take me long because that's what I do at my work. I do the music design for full acts of shows, lyric ups and stuff. So it's been really fun. But I'm taking songs directly from Guardians of the Galaxy, but also songs my like past of like all the classic rock that I love, and it makes KOTOR feel a completely different way. Like, it is definitely something that hasn't been done before, and it's kind of ridiculous but kind of awesome at the same time. So that's going to be releasing the first episode next week.
That sounds really awesome. Are you worried about copyright at all, or you got that all like
dude, the trailer, if you see the end of our trailer, it says right when we slam the logo, it says we don't monetize anyway. Dude, my channel is so corrupted with copyrights, not strikes though, but just like they'll never monetize me. When we were doing stuff for Schmodown, like I could not even get super chats, where like they won't even let me do super chats or anything. Like so I was like, hey, screw it, man. So yeah, like
it's all for the love of KOTOR, right?
Crazy songs in that first episode.
No money needed, all for the love of KOTOR.
Yeah, there's also your the Logan stuff you're doing as well.
Yeah. Oh, you talking about the Logan adventures?
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll probably take a back seat to that too. But yeah, we're gonna start doing some old school. Now that I got the Xbox Series X, KOTOR looks great in it. I'm like, wait, and I bought KOTOR for it, and the KOTOR has the old free cam, and so we kind of want to do some basically old school, like little 10-minute shorts about taking place in my universe, where I would actually do it. Because the thing is, I do the animatics and then I hand it off to these guys. They're so busy with their animations and the modding and the hacking of the game. I can't do any of that. They are way smarter at that than me. But what I can do is edit. What I can do is music design. And I can do it from the old school, because my original movies were completely on an Xbox, right? So we're going to start releasing some little mini versions of things that I can edit using footage from the Xbox, but like high-res Xbox Series X, which looks great. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. Dude. So some big KOTOR stuff waiting in the wings, guys. Definitely check out Varkor and Kevin. Like I said, links to their stuff is in the description. It's amazing movies, amazing KOTOR movies, and I am very much looking forward to everything we just talked about. So that's going to do it, guys. I really appreciate you guys coming on to the podcast tonight. Thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you for being here, Box Bros. Make sure to leave a comment down below. Join in on the conversation. I'm really making it a point to try to reply to every comment I get on the podcast, so definitely leave a comment below on your thoughts and opinions on what we talked about. Check out my Patreon. Link is in the description for all kinds of benefits and special features that you can only get if you become a Patreon, which includes special access in our Discord, a $100 giveaway we do every month, and even getting to pick a game for me to stream on Thursdays. Much more than that, guys. Definitely check out the Patreon if you haven't yet, and our Discord server as well. Link is in the description. But yeah, that's going to do it, guys. So until next time, the Boxman will catch you later. Thanks as always for watching.